A viral tweet has just sparked a massive debate about Gen Z's lack of phone etiquette. So apparently, when Gen Z picks up a phone call, they just don't say hello. They wait for the other person to start talking and then they respond, which I find completely preposterous. I've never done that as a Zoomer myself, but here was the tweet that started this whole controversy. I'm a recruiter, so I do a ton of phone interviews, and something I've noticed about Gen Z specifically is that a lot of them answer the phone and don't say anything. Like, I can hear their breathing and the background noise, but they wait for you to say hello first.
So they do the hello.
You know, they just wait for you. For clarification, the candidates have self-scheduled these calls, and I'm calling at the exact time that they chose, and also received a reminder email about an hour beforehand. They also have my number ahead of time, so they know who's calling.
Like literally every step to prevent people from doing the thing where they see a number they don't recognize and don't pick up.
For the record, I don't hold this against anyone. You should. And it doesn't impact whether or not I recommend them to a hiring manager. It should impact your decision.
It should at least be a footnote in
just an observation. Yeah, especially if they're applying for any customer service related job. This should definitely count against them. And she said, apparently I need to add that I'm an internal recruiter, not a headhunter. I do not work off commission. I'm strictly salary. Goodness gracious. A lot of people, especially Zoomers, in her replies were clapping back and saying that she's coming up with random reasons not to hire people and she's being vindictive, but they're just coming up with excuses for their own lack of etiquette. But some of these replies are truly mind-blowing. Like, there are a lot of people, not just Gen Z, who operate this way, and they think that this is normal. Some people were blaming it on the prevalence of scam calls, but as she clarified, they know that it's not a scam call. Yep. They schedule it ahead of time. They know that they're expecting to hear from someone. But there are also people saying it's fine for Gen Z to change phone etiquette because technology is changing, the times are changing.
No, they're wrong.
We
need to prevent stuff from changing all the time.
One of the replies said, "Isn't it a universal law that the person who's doing the calling should be the one to say hello?" What planet are you
It's
from?
like when we talked about the Gen Z stare, where like somebody will come into a restaurant and the hostess is like,
they just look at you blankly.
Like there is society is held together by these little interactions we have every day in our daily lives, and changing them is ridiculously stupid and antithetical to a working society. Some things have to stay the same.
Well, ordinarily when etiquette standards change, they change so slowly that nobody finds it jarring or even notices. This is a totally different scenario, and I just cannot believe there are this many people replying saying that this is the way that they conduct themselves. It's obviously not because of scam calls. It's because Gen Z is socially inept and people are being too polite to say so. They say etiquette is changing in this opinion piece from Business Insider. The other reason people are avoiding the hello seems to be a generational difference in etiquette. Some young people believe that if you're the one who is calling, you should initiate the conversation. If that makes your blood pressure start to rise, let's take a deep breath together and try to think about this kindly, because we need to treat them with kid gloves. Are young people hopelessly adrift in society, untethered from being capable of the most basic elements of communication? Is this perhaps related to the so-called Gen Z stare, where young people in customer service situations blankly stare back at you or avoid eye contact wordlessly? I'm not saying it's not that. I think that saying hello when you answer the phone is normal, commonly accepted social etiquette, and not doing it can be slightly confusing for a caller, but just because something used to be a common etiquette doesn't mean it has to stay that way.
Yes, it does.
The telephone is a relatively recent invention in the history of human communication, as is the word hello. This is actually true. So The word hello is a lot more recent than people believe it to be. Initially, when Alexander Graham Bell invented the telephone, he presented the idea of opening a call with ahoy, which was not popularly adopted. And then Thomas Edison was the one who popularized hello as the greeting from the person receiving the call. And has been the case for, obviously, long over a century now. So this is a very sudden change that's taking place.
I urge every one of you to ignore any explanation like this. What this is the fate of everyone going to college. And just because you can verbalize some bullshit reason something might or should change doesn't make it right. No. And this is just a consequence of a bunch of people being overly educated with no common sense or decency for other people. And just because something sounds good doesn't mean that it is good. I urge everyone to, if somebody was to actually say this to you, I reject your premise, you're wrong, and then move on about you. In fact, you should laugh at them.
Another BS response to this that absolves Gen Z of their responsibility says it's due to AirPods that don't connect quick enough, and the first hello is always lost, but it doesn't seem like people realize it. That's not true. Okay,
I mean, it's at least interesting because that does happen to me when I answer the phone. It doesn't change your obligation.
Well, then you repeat yourself.
Yes,
okay,
exactly.
It's not going to change the entire mode of communication. And they end saying, just because it has been the etiquette to say hello when you answer the phone doesn't mean it has to be that way forever.
Yes, it does.
The technology of phones has changed completely. Why shouldn't the rules change with it?
Here's the thing. The only way I allow you to change this is you have to go into a position like law enforcement or the feds or a doctor so you can answer the phone with your last name.
Morgan.
Like that's it. Also, it's a TV trope to just hang up.
Yes.
To not say goodbye.
Yeah, I bet like Gen Z might think that saying goodbye after a phone call is no longer a rule of social etiquette because they've absorbed so much about communication from TV shows.
Like, imagine if you're not like a cop or a doctor or somebody in a position of power and you just answer your phone with Morgan.
You know, I don't understand this, but Zoomers are obsessed with FaceTime calls. I don't get it. I hate FaceTiming. I never understood the appeal. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the sell is that you're able to see someone's facial reactions to what you're saying, and it feels more personal, but I always thought it was weird that Zoomer couples especially are obsessed with like falling asleep on a FaceTime call. Like that's something that they romanticize and they think it's really cute. I think it's weird. Pop Culture Junkie said, "You have transported me back to Mrs. Harcum's third grade class where we spent an entire afternoon talking about phone etiquette and who says hello first, in addition to how to introduce people to other people." Yeah, these are very basic things that I assumed used to be taught or didn't need to be taught to young people.
The issue with this
was never told explicitly, you're the one who's supposed to say hello. You just observe that. You know,
we live in a society that's so simple, like so easy now, where yes, there are all sorts of problems, but your daily life is so regimented and normal now that they have to make up things to have issues with. I know that that's a simplistic take, but you know, when we were going to war, you didn't worry about who said hello first on the phone call.
I think this is because Gen Z feels anxiety about being reachable at all times, and I understand that. Mm-hmm. The smartphone, taking it with you everywhere you go, people do try to reach you at all times of the day. They feel entitled to your response at all times. You're expected to be available at all times. This is probably one of the reasons why Gen Z puts such a strong emphasis on work-life balance.
It happens when they talk
work
about...
used to be at work and home used to be home. Those lines have been blurred because of technology, but that doesn't excuse what they're doing. And the millennial version of this actually is that they notoriously don't answer the door when someone rings their doorbell or knocks on the door. They literally don't answer their front doors. And people have talked about this. This is the millennial version of not saying hello first.
That was never a thing for me.
I mean, I think it's because of the fact that people have mass adopted Ring cameras,
My-
and you like it's sort of like having a Ring camera on your front door is the same thing as caller ID, but for your home.
Millennials also had a problem with answering the phone, and my pet argument for that was student loan debt. They didn't want to answer the guy calling to tell them
Valid.
they just were sick of hearing about how this is so and so and you have an outstanding balance of this much on your student loans, so they just got used to not answering the phone.
I get spam calls and spam texts constantly, and it's probably because I put myself on these lists. I just am obsessed with answering scam calls and wasting their time for fun.
Chat,
so they have me on all the lists.
if there are millennials in the chat, and I know there are a lot of millennials in the chat, let me know if you know of anybody that had a problem answering the door, because that was just never a thing for me or anybody that I knew. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I had a particularly social group of people, but I never had problems answering the door.
Gen Z just feels attacked at all times. Like, I feel like they feel attacked by phone calls. They feel attacked by customers. They feel like they're a victim of capitalism when they have a retail job or a job at a restaurant or something. And if you're a customer there, you're one of the people who is oppressing them, which is insane, obviously. But I think that's where the Gen Z gaze or Gen Z stare comes from.
I'm just sick of everything. Everything's been we're trying to normalize everything, and we're trying to then change every cultural and social norm. And then we're like, why is everybody so fragmented? Why does the world feel so wavy beneath our feet? Why does nothing feel solid anymore? Because the idea of answering the phone has become a weirdly politicized topic where people have to discuss whether we've been doing it right this whole time.
It's about a power dynamic. The person who's calling is the one who has more power in this situation, so
Just end it.
they have to take the burden of saying hello.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.